The sun hung low over the vast American Southwest, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape. The luminous oranges and purples of twilight melded into the deepening shadows of night, creating a surreal backdrop for the isolated stretch of highway. Like a scar cutting through the arid plains, the asphalt ribbon seemed to beckon the few who dared to travel its length. Beside it, a rundown gas station stood alone, its painted letters faded and peeling from years of neglect. The rusty red, yellow, and white fuel pumps slumped in their concrete cradle, a testament to better days when weary travelers stopped for gas and a cup of coffee under the fluorescent lights that flickered like fireflies in their last breaths. The place was nearly forgotten, much like the lone traveler who had been wandering the landscape nearby for days. But unlike any ordinary hiker or drifter, this traveler was much larger and more formidable, and quite unlike any creature that was meant to roam the highways of the United States. It was a lion. With every step he took across the desolate land, he seemed to carry the weight of his former glory. Yet now his massive frame was reduced to skin and bones, his golden mane tangled and unkempt, and his ribs pressing through his thin fur was a stark reminder of his dwindling strength. Possessing once the kingly presence of the savannah, he was now merely a shadow of his former self, a specter haunting the empty stretches of road. The locals had begun to notice him. Truckers passing through to refuel their rigs had whispered about the ghost lion that appeared in the distance, moving slowly, always near the gas station, yet never daring to come close enough to be apprehended. In their minds, whispers painted him as a mythical creature, a harbinger of misfortune. Some feared him, thinking he was a lost omen of the wild. Others pitied him, wondering how a majestic beast had ended up alone and starving in the heart of the desert. But no one dared to help. No one, except one man. Jake Hudson, a former military veteran, had taken over the gas station after leaving the fast-paced life of the city behind. He had been searching for peace, an escape from the chaos that once consumed him. The harsh realities of war, the cacophony of gunfire, the loss of comrades, and the struggles of reintegration haunted him. He found solitude in the silent stretches of highway, but solitude is sometimes a double-edged sword. When Jake first saw the lion, his breath caught in his throat. A mirage, he thought. Surely this vast expanse of earth was playing tricks on his tired mind. But as he stepped closer, blinking against the golden light, he came face to face with the truth. The lion was real, and he was starving. Each laborious step the beast took was a battle against his own failing body. The deep-set eyes, once sharp and commanding, were now dull and exhausted, pools of suffering that resonated with an unspoken plea. The former king of the jungle now knew only desperation. Jake didn't know how the lion had ended up here. Had he escaped from a private zoo, a traveling circus, or had he been abandoned, cast aside to die in the scorching desert heat? He had no answers, only a heavy heart that urged him to act. If no one helped him, he wouldn't survive much longer. As the sun dipped below the horizon one evening, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Jake made a decision. He found a plate of raw meat in the store's freezer, minding its expiration date with little concern. For him, this wasn't just about saving a life, but reconnecting with a part of himself that he thought he had lost forever. As uncertainty twisted in his stomach, he stepped outside and walked to the edge of the highway, knelt down and extended the plate forward. His heart hammered in his chest, echoing the uncertainty of his actions. He knew the balance of nature was precarious. This was a wild animal, unpredictable, dangerous. One wrong move could be his last, but the lion did not attack. Instead, he halted, frozen in place, his weary eyes fixed on the offering with a gaze that mixed fear and need. Hunger had stripped him of hesitation, but caution still clung to him like a desperate ghost. With one tentative paw, he took a step forward, then another. It felt like an eternity as he held his breath, afraid that any sudden movement could shatter this fragile moment. Finally, the lion lowered his massive head and took a careful bite, drawing another piece of meat away from the plate. Jake felt a rush of relief wash over him. He knew now he had taken the first step towards building a bridge, one made of trust and compassion. That evening marked the beginning of something neither man nor beast had anticipated. The sun painted vivid colors across the sky, but Jake's internal landscape had shifted from desolation to hope. He continued to feed the lion every evening after closing the gas station. At first, the animal came, hesitantly devouring the meat before retreating into the comforting embrace of the desert. But as the days turned into weeks, a silent trust began to deepen between the two of them. The locals thought Jake had lost his mind. "You're feeding a wild lion? Are you insane?" an old trucker asked one evening, while refueling his rig and gesturing toward the distant silhouette of the lion. His words dripped with incredulity as he shook his head. Jake shrugged, the weight of their judgment brushing off him like desert dust. "He's not attacking anyone. He's just hungry, same as anyone else." His gaze fell upon the lion, who lay languidly under the stars, a majestic silhouette against the twilight. What puzzled Jake most was why the lion never left. Logical sense would dictate that he should have wandered away in search of food. The desert was vast, after all, but instead he returned night after night as if he had nowhere else to go. Yet Jake felt that, perhaps, he was discovering a connection to something once thought lost to him. The hurt of returning from war, the question of purpose, and the longing for companionship echoed in the lion's presence. Days turned into weeks, and as time passed, the lion regained his strength, inching back into life. His fur regained its luster, golden and bright under the sun, transforming from a matted mess into a flowing mane that danced in the desert breeze. His eyes, once dull and empty, now gleamed with the spark of life and vitality, a testament to the bond forged between them. On a particularly bright morning, invigorated by the warmth of the sun, Jake stepped outside with his usual meal. But this time, the lion did not immediately lunges for the plate. Instead, he stepped forward, his massive form silhouetted against the brilliant backdrop of the rising sun. In an act that took Jake completely by surprise, the lion nudged his massive head against Jake's shoulder, just for a brief moment. That simple gesture carried the weight of gratitude and acknowledgement, a silent thank you, a bond that now felt unbreakable. Jake knelt, tearing up at the connection they shared, realizing that they were no longer two isolated souls. They found solace in each other, and in that instant, a true friendship blossomed amid the harshness of existence. As the weeks rolled on, the lion made the gas station and the surrounding area his home. Travelers who now encountered the lion spoke differently about Jake. They marveled at the friendship, sharing tales that circulated among the small towns. "Did you hear about the veteran feeding the lion?" people would exclaim, amazed. Yet with the lion's presence came another truth. Jake could no longer ignore the inevitability of the world, one that frequently included loss. One evening, just as abruptly as he had arrived, the lion vanished. Jake felt an unease settle deep in his gut, a hollow ache that echoed the empty gas station around him as he looked toward the horizon, searching for that familiar golden figure. Days passed without a whisper of the lion. Jake would step outside, calling softly, hoping for a sign, a rustle in the brush, that familiar silhouette under the stars. Week after week, the desert stretched infinitely, barren, sinuous, and unyielding. And yet still, Jake told himself this might be for the best. He clung to the hope that the lion was strong enough to venture out on his own, nourished and healed by their connection. But the truth was, Jake missed him. The gas station felt emptier than ever, the silence a constant reminder of the companionship he had found. He thought of the lion often, reminiscing about their moments of quiet together, the way he would settle just outside the gas station, eyes conserved for road sounds, the timeless elegance he emanated even in repose. Then one night, as Jake locked up the station, he heard it, a deep, thunderous roar echoing through the desert. Strong, powerful, alive. It came from somewhere far beyond the highway, resonating like a rolling wave against the smooth stone of the earth. He felt his heart lift, a rush of realization washing over him. "Goodbye, old friend," he whispered into the night, letting the sound of the lion's voice fill the air. The lion had not gone in fear, nor had he left alone. He had simply returned to where he belonged, unleashing his wild spirit into the open plains. And in that moment, Jake understood the beauty of their time together. Days turned into weeks. The high desert sun continued its relentless cycle, and though Jake endured the longing for his friend, he knew the bond they created would live on in both of them. The gas station became a sanctuary of memories. Those evenings spent feeding the lion, sharing the silence of the starry nights, the quiet thrill of trust, each moment layering upon the next like the sands of the desert itself. Jake would often visit the edge of the highway, filling his gaze with the horizon, where he imagined his friend roaming wild and free. The locals, too, began to spin tales of the noble lion that had once haunted the gas station, marveling at the connection forged between a man and a wild creature. One evening, as Jake stood outside the station, the wind carried with it a familiar sound, a distant roar, gentle but full of spirit. He smiled to himself, closing his eyes to savor the melody of the moment. Time passed as it always does, indifferent to the struggles of man or beast. But Jake remembered. He recognized that the kindness he extended to a stranger, a creature thought of as dangerous and wild, propelled him to new depths of understanding. He began to reach out further into the community, using the stories of his lion to inspire others. No longer just the man with the gas station in the middle of nowhere, he became a figure of hope, a reminder that empathy and courage could bridge the chasms of loneliness and despair. He established a fund to help support local wildlife conservation efforts, sharing tales of his time with the lion to strengthen community ties and inspire a love for the world around them. Though the lion had disappeared, Jake felt the invisible thread connecting them, a reminder that kindness is never truly forgotten. It transcends distance, circumstance, and loss, blooming in unexpected ways. For every story told, for every connection made, the echoes of the past rang clear. The lion's roar continued to thunder through the desert, reverberating in the very soul of the land. And sometimes when the wind howled past the gas station at night, lifting the dust into spirals of shimmering light, Jake swore he could still hear a familiar roar in the distance, a testament to a friendship that defied all odds. As the years rolled by, the gas station thrived, no longer just a lonely outpost in the desert, but a place where stories came alive. Jake stood steadfast behind the counter, patrons sharing tales of kindness, adventure, and animals, each story bringing with it a piece of the lion's spirit. And in the quiet moments, standing there, with the sun dipping low behind the mountains, Jake felt the presence of his friend with every beat of his heart. Although the lion had roamed away into the wild, he left behind a legacy of kindness, a reminder that every creature, no matter how fierce, can be softened by compassion. Even in the unforgiving expanse of the desert, amidst the sun-streaked paths and whispering winds, Jake Hudson knew that every roar held a story waiting to be told, and every kindness would linger forever. Like the howl of the desert wind, strong and unyielding, a testament to love shared across the savanna of life.